They say you never forget where you were when it happened. Not because it was loud, not because it was perfect, but because the lights went out and the girl just kept singing. No one remembers the name of the boy who did the magic tricks. No one remembers which dance group closed the show. But ask anyone who sat in that old auditorium on the night of the town's annual youth talent show, and they'll all tell you the same thing. They remember her. They remember the moment when the ceiling lights blew out with a sharp snap and the stage went dark. They remember the murmurs, the startled laughter, someone joking, "Guess the power can't handle all that talent." And then silence, thick, waiting, until a voice, one single fragile voice, kept going. No mic, no light, just the sound of a girl who didn't stop singing. It wasn't perfect. It cracked in places, but it held, like a candle refusing to flicker out in the wind. That's what made it unforgettable. It wasn't that she sang well, though she did. It was that she didn't stop, even when the stage forgot her. One mother in the back whispered to her daughter, "Shh, listen." And across the room, someone else slowly raised their phone, not to film, but to shine a soft glow forward. Others followed. A handful of flickering phone lights and camping flashlights lit up the girl in the center of the stage. Barefoot, in a plain dress, eyes closed, arms by her sides, voice unwavering. She kept singing like she didn't even notice. "The dark," one teacher would later say, "but I think maybe she noticed it more than any of us." After that night, no one could quite agree on what the lyrics were. Some said it was a hymn, others thought it was a lullaby. One girl swore she recognized it from an old cassette. Her grandma used to play, but none of that mattered, because when the lights failed, when the wires gave out, when the room turned to black, Lily Harper kept singing. And in that moment, the world remembered how to listen. Long before the blackout, long before anyone knew her name, Lily Harper was already singing in the dark, not on a stage, not for a crowd, just in the corners of places people forgot to look. A moldy trailer with one working light bulb, a back porch with rusted railings, a mattress on the floor she shared with her mother in a borrowed room above a gas station. She didn't sing loud. She never did. Her voice wasn't built for big places. It was built for shadows and closed eyes. She sang while doing dishes. She hummed while brushing her little brother's hair. And sometimes she whispered songs into her pillow when the grown-ups fought downstairs. They called it the candle voice. At least that's what Ms. Penelope said once, the neighbor from 2 doors down who sold tamales from a cart. She got a voice like a candle, she told Lily's mom. Small, but it keeps burning even when the room goes cold. But at school, no one noticed Lily. She ate lunch alone, always in the 3rd seat by the window. Her teachers called her shy, in that polite way that means invisible. The only person who ever seemed to really hear her was Mr. Ellis, the janitor. He caught her once in the music room, late after school, pressing one key on the piano over and over, singing just one note to match it. He didn't interrupt, just swept quietly, letting her finish. Later that week, he slipped a folded piece of paper under her math book. It said, "You should sing at the show." Lily stared at it. For a long time, she didn't believe him, not really. But that night she walked to the park alone and stood under the broken lamp by the tennis courts. And she sang the whole song she'd been hiding for weeks, all the way through, start to finish. No one clapped. No one was even there. But she sang anyway, because sometimes the world doesn't give you a stage. Sometimes it only gives you quiet and a voice and a choice. And Lily Harper, the girl with the candle voice, had already made hers. The talent show had a clipboard. That's how it began, not with music or applause or dreams. Just a clipboard taped to the wall outside the school office. Title at the top in bold Sharpie, talent show, sign up. Thursday night, airs 6 p.m. Gym below it, a list of names. Cheerleaders, the breakdance twins from Class 7B. Someone had written fire baton twirling and underlined it twice. Lily passed it 3 times that week. The first time she didn't look. The second time she paused. The third time she stopped. She stared at the sheet. The names were loud, confident, covered in little hearts and glittery ink. Every entry had a box marked talent. Some said singing, some said magic, one said stand-up, clean. Lily's hand hovered near the pen, but before she could reach it, a voice behind her. "Wait, are you thinking of signing up?" She turned. 3 girls stood behind her, the kind who always had matching hair clips and new shoes. "You sing?" one asked, wide-eyed, half mocking, half curious. Lily didn't answer. Another girl tilted her head. "Do you even talk?" They laughed. It wasn't mean at first, just surprised, like she'd broken character. Lily stepped back, hands curled into sleeves. She walked away without touching the pen. That night she didn't hum. She didn't practice. She just sat on the edge of the tub while her little brother took his bath, staring at the cracked tile on the wall. Her mother knocked softly. "You okay, baby?" Lily didn't speak. "You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You know that, right?" Lily nodded, but her throat ached. Not from illness, from holding something in. The next day, the clipboard was still there. One line near the bottom was blank. She looked around. No one watched. She picked up the pen, wrote in small letters, "Lily Harper," singing, no music, then slipped away before anyone could notice. She didn't tell her mother, didn't tell Mr. Ellis, didn't even tell herself out loud. But that night, as the sky turned gray and the world went quiet again, she whispered, "Maybe just this once, I'll be heard." The gym smelled like popcorn and rain. The bleachers were pulled out, creaking with every shift. Parents fanned themselves with paper programs. Kids sat on the floor, whispering, giggling, eating Sour Patch Kids from hoodie pockets. Someone on stage tried to juggle lemons and dropped one into the front row. Laughter exploded. It was light, warm, safe. Backstage, Lily sat alone on a plastic chair. A safety pin held the side of her borrowed dress together. Her hands were cold. A woman with a clipboard whispered, "You're on after the tap dancer. 2 minutes." Lily nodded, eyes on the floor. Beside her, other kids rehearsed lines, fixed their hair, bounced in place. She just breathed, in, out, trying to feel the notes inside her chest, not the fear. Mr. Ellis had come. He sat in the back row, his janitor's cap folded in his lap, eyes never leaving the stage. He didn't wave, didn't need to. Then the tap, shoes stopped, and the woman returned. "You're up." Lily stood. Her knees wobbled, but she walked. Each step felt like the ground might give. The microphone stood too tall, like it didn't want to be touched. A student crouched and adjusted, for her. The crowd was a blur of faces, laughing, chatting, checking their phones. She cleared her throat. Silence didn't come. Not yet. Someone in the crowd muttered, "Who's she?" Lily gripped the microphone. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her voice caught in her throat like a paper bird too scared to fly. Then she remembered the candle, the one in her. Small, flickering, but warm. She closed her eyes and sang soft. So soft it barely reached the back row. But something in her tone, something honest, almost ancient, cut through the chatter. The giggles stopped. The fidgeting stilled. A father in the third row tilted his head. A girl near the aisle dropped her snack. The voice grew, not louder, but deeper, as if it were rising from somewhere older than fear. And for the first time in her life, Lily Harper sang to be heard, not perfect, not powerful, but real. And in that moment, the room began to hush itself. The moment was growing. Note by note, Lily's voice reached further, past the front row, past the noise, past every reason she'd ever been told to stay quiet. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was clear, haunting. Each word like a stone dropped into still water. In the crowd, whispers turned to stillness. A teacher leaned forward. 2 students near the back stopped whispering mid-sentence. Even the principal, who had been checking his watch, turned his eyes toward the yikes stage and didn't look away. She's actually... Someone near the front didn't finish their sentence because they couldn't. They were holding their breath. Lily didn't open her eyes. She was in it now, not remembering the people, not fearing the room. She was inside the song. The bridge was coming. The part she practiced over and over on the back steps after school, where her voice would lift just a little, like something learning how to fly. She reached the line, inhaled, and then, snap. The gym went black, total, instant darkness. The fans stopped spinning. The mic popped and cut out. The emergency lights failed to flicker on. Someone in the crowd gasped. Then, a scream, a nervous laugh, a chair scraping loudly on the floor. The room buzzed with sudden chaos. Lily froze. She couldn't see the microphone, couldn't see the crowd, couldn't even see her own hands. She felt her breath catch, like the sound inside her had been locked away all over again. The song evaporated mid-air. Her feet suddenly felt too small, too exposed. She wanted to run, disappear into the dark. Somewhere, in the back, a boy joked, "Well, guess that's the end of that." Laughter, not much, but enough to sting. Someone fumbled with a flashlight. The beam swung wildly, missed the stage completely. In the darkness, Lily's voice, the one that had filled the room seconds ago, was gone. Not because she forgot the lyrics, but because for a split second, she forgot she deserved to be heard. It was supposed to be her moment, not fame, not applause, just a moment. One she could carry in her pocket for years. Proof that she'd done it, that she'd stepped out of the shadows and said, "I'm here, I have something to say." But now, all she could hear was the dark. Murmurs stirred around the gym like ripples in a muddy pond. Feet shifting, phones buzzing, the rustle of jackets and plastic wrappers, and under it all, the whispers. She froze. I knew she'd choke. Did she even know the words? Someone snorted. Maybe the power gave out to save us. Lily couldn't see them, but she could feel them, like cold fingers brushing her arms, tugging at her confidence. She looked down, though she couldn't see her own feet. Her breathing was uneven now, shallow. Her throat tightened, the way it always did when she was about to cry but refused. She stepped back from the microphone, even though it was dead. She was ready to walk off, to leave, to pretend this never happened. Behind her, someone whispered loud enough to be heard, "Guess the quiet girl stayed quiet after all." That one hurt the most, because it wasn't cruel. It was true. She'd tried. She really had. But maybe that moment wasn't hers to have. She imagined sitting in class the next day, the stares, the jokes, the shrug of, oh well, she wasn't ready. And yet, she stayed, frozen, in the dark. In the third row, a child tugged her mother's. "Sleeve, is she gonna sing again?" The woman didn't answer, because no one knew, not even Lily. She closed her eyes, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to shut everything out. The room, the voices, the fear, and somewhere from a place no light could reach, a thought rose like smoke. You came here to be heard, not just when it's easy. The room had not changed, still dark, still buzzing with uncertainty, still waiting for something, or someone, to call it back to order. But Lily had changed, not in a way anyone could see. No one could see her at all. But deep inside, something settled. She didn't move, didn't raise her arms, didn't ask for help. She just opened her mouth and sang. No mic, no spotlight, no music, just breath and sound and truth. At first it was a murmur, a single line, cracked but clear, floating above the noise like mist on a still lake. The whispers stopped. A phone light flicked on. It didn't aim at her, just glowed faintly from someone's lap, like a candle waking up. Lily sang the next line, stronger. The melody picked up where it left off, not rushing to catch up, not begging to be remembered, just continuing, as if it had never really stopped. Someone in the back whispered, "She's singing?" Another light turned on, then another, until a few beams of white gently illuminated the stage. They caught her silhouette now, just barely. A small frame, still barefoot, hands at her sides, eyes closed, but that voice, it was rising, soft, but steady, not loud, never loud, but full of every time she hadn't been chosen, every time she had swallowed her voice, every time someone else had spoken over her. Now the silence belonged to her, and the room listened. One man placed his phone over his heart, filming but not moving. A girl clutched the hem of her hoodie. A teacher wiped under her glasses and whispered, "She's not afraid." But Lily was afraid. Only, she sang anyway. The final note came gently, not like a grand finale, not like something that needed applause. It came like a farewell, a soft hand resting on a shoulder, a breath just before sleep. And when it faded, the room didn't erupt. It exhaled, deeply, together. The darkness had never left, but somehow, now it felt warmer. Lily opened her eyes. What she saw wasn't a sea of phones or cheers or clapping hands. What she saw was light. Dozens of tiny lights, from phones, flashlights, even one glow stick from the snack table, raised quietly. The dark, not to blind her, not to capture her, just to say, "We're here and we heard you." No one moved, not at first, as if they were afraid that even the softest gesture might break the spell. Lily stood alone on the stage, still, breathing, eyes open now, but not looking at anyone in particular, just being. And below her, the lights remained, dozens of them, tiny white beams pointing upward like stars summoned to earth. No one spoke, no one clapped, not yet, because something sacred had happened. And when something sacred happens, you don't interrupt it, you hold it. Even the rowdy kids in the back, the ones who usually made paper airplanes and jokes, sat still, their faces lit by a soft rectangular glow. One girl whispered, "She finished the whole song." Another murmured, "She didn't even run." A third added, "She didn't need the mic," and that's when it started. Not a roar, not a standing ovation, just a breath. Collective, slow, shared. Then one by one people rose, not all at once. First a woman with her hands over her heart, then a boy with braces, then two teachers wiping their eyes. Then someone dropped their flashlight trying to stand, and laughter slipped in like sunlight through curtains. But even that laugh was gentle, because the energy had shifted. This wasn't about talent anymore. It wasn't about winning. It was about witnessing. They had witnessed a girl who stayed when she had every reason to walk away. They had witnessed someone who kept singing when the world went dark. And now, the room glowed with more than phones. It glowed with reverence. Lily looked out at them. She didn't smile, didn't bow. She just stood there, eyes glistening, chest rising and falling, fully present. For the first time in her life, she wasn't waiting to be dismissed. Wasn't waiting for the next bell, or the judgment, or the whisper that would undo her. She had arrived, and they had listened. And in that space between silence and celebration, she was whole. The woman with the clipboard, the one who had called, her name before the stage, walked to the mic stand and whispered something to the audience. Then she paused, smiled, and said, without amplification, "Let's give her the quiet she gave us." And the crowd, still standing, raised their lights. One last time, not to see her, but to honor her, and no one said a word. The video was shaky, grainy, shot from the third row on a cracked phone with a smeared lens. The sound wasn't perfect. The focus drifted. At one point, the flashlight beam swayed and caught only Lily's feet. But it didn't matter, because the internet didn't care about production value that night. It cared about truth. Girl keeps singing through blackout, leaves crowd frozen. That was the caption. 12 seconds of footage, no fancy angles, just her voice rising in the dark, and a slow sweep of phone lights lifting toward her like hands in prayer. People shared it. Thousands, then millions. Some said it reminded them of a funeral. Some said it felt like church. One comment read, I've never cried over a stranger before. And yet, Lily didn't know any of this. She didn't have a phone, didn't check YouTube, didn't even know what trending meant. All she knew was that the next morning at school, people looked at her differently. Not like a joke, not like a mystery, like a mirror, where they had seen something quiet and recognized themselves. Few kids waved. One girl left a note in her locker that said, "I heard you." And the principal asked if she wanted to perform again, this time on the main stage, for the district-wide arts assembly. Lily paused, then shook her head. "Why not?" he asked kindly. She smiled, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and said softly, "Because I already said what I needed to say." That night, Lily sat at the edge of her bed, watching shadows move across the ceiling, and whispered into the quiet. I kept singing, and they stayed. And for once, that was enough. The gym lights were fixed a week later. New bulbs, stronger wiring. They even installed a backup generator, just in case. The principal joked, "Next time the lights won't go out." But something had already changed, because no one cared about the stage anymore. Not really. They cared about that night, that moment, that silence that turned into song, and they cared about her. Lily Harper didn't go to interviews, didn't audition for anything, didn't even attend the follow-up assembly. But the choir room found her one afternoon, empty, still. She sat at the upright piano with no keys below middle C, just humming, to no one, to everyone. Mr. Ellis passed by, saw the door half open, didn't speak, just listened. The music wasn't loud, it didn't ask to be heard, but it filled the space like light under a closed door. The next day, something new appeared on the hallway bulletin board, a single sheet of paper, typed, no name. It read, "Sometimes you don't need a spotlight to be seen. You just need the dark, so your voice can glow." Some students took photos of it. Some walked past and forgot, but a few stopped, stared, and one boy, quiet, awkward, never raised his hand in class, stood there longer than anyone. Later, that week he signed up for the spring performance, talent spoken word. As for Lily, she kept singing, not always on stage, sometimes on the fire escape, sometimes into the wind, sometimes only in her head. But she sang, because now she knew even in the dark, especially in the dark, someone will listen. And even if no one did, she still would. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, share, and maybe leave a quiet word in the comments. We're listening.